Hi Bulldogs. Today we're going to talk about a new initiative that is a youth violence prevention program. Our goal is to grow a more inclusive and empathetic community. Our hope is to help our peers by recognizing loneliness and isolation and then offering support. Please be attentive during this presentation. First, we'll watch a short video about the history of this presentation.
This wonderful organization had its origins in the horrible tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School.
After the shooting, Mark and I, along with several other family members, launched Sandy Hook Promise to honor our loved ones' lives and ensure this never happens to any other family.
Sandy Hook Promise is focused on just one goal: prevent violence and protect our kids. We've achieved this through our Know the Signs programs. And with you, our incredibly committed base of millions of supporters who fight every day to keep that promise.
Taking our tragedy and transforming it into something positive that could save the lives of others and could even save the life of your family. That's what keeps us going every day.
I'd like you to think about this question as we move through the presentation. How can you prevent violence and build an inclusive community? Loneliness, social isolation, and not feeling like you belong can have a negative impact and even lead to violence, specifically people hurting themselves or others. Here's a short video of students telling how they feel lonely, socially isolated, and invisible. Today you will learn 1. Pro-social actions you take to activate empathy. 2. The 3 start with hello steps. 3. The impact of loneliness and social isolation on yourself and others. And 4. Strategies to use your empathy to help build a welcoming and inclusive community.
So what is empathy? Empathy is simply understanding and caring about another person's feelings and taking some action to help. Have you ever felt sad with a friend just because they're sad? Imagine that a friend of yours is feeling sad because they studied very hard for a math test and then they failed it. You can imagine, or you might know, what it feels like to be in that situation. That's empathy. You wouldn't say to that friend, "Oh, it's just a test," or "You'll get over it." You might say something more like, "I know you're really sad right now because you worked so hard and you didn't do as well as you wanted. I understand that. I've been there and that's happened to me too." That is showing empathy. You can also show empathy if someone is feeling excluded, left out, or discriminated against. For instance, someone might be excluded or discriminated against because of their race, their ethnicity, their gender identity, or sexual orientation. Empathy is a lot like putting yourself in someone else's shoes and really trying to imagine what they might be going through. It's about being a good friend, a good classmate, and understanding that everyone has different emotions. So when we see someone who's alone or lonely, we can try to imagine how they may feel, and we can show them that we care by reaching out. The good news is you can grow your empathy. Human beings can work and build and improve their empathy, that ability to share and really understand what people are going through. Empathy is like a muscle. It can be strengthened with exercise, and it can atrophy when it's idle. The more you are empathetic, the stronger and more empathetic you will be. Empathy is also not just a nice thing to do. It makes us more successful. For instance, several academic researchers show that people who are empathetic are more effective leaders, and they experience a greater sense of well-being, which is feeling healthy and happy themselves. Noticing loneliness and isolation in others and reaching out and helping them can really help build your empathy muscles.
The Start with Hello 3 steps. Empathy plays a big role in the 3 Start with Hello steps that will help you create a more socially inclusive and welcoming community. Step 1, see someone alone? Well, that's recognizing that someone might be lonely or socially isolated. We'll talk more about this. Step 2, reach out and help. Step 3, start with hello. The first step is to see someone alone, or sense that someone is alone by the way they walk or even talk, even if you can't see them. You might see a classmate sitting alone, or sense a classmate is feeling alone because it's their first day at school and they don't know anyone yet. If we truly seek to understand each other, we can then start to build a culture of kindness that will help lead to socially inclusive school communities.
And there are different ways you might see someone alone. We might see someone who is lonely, we might see someone who is isolated, and we might see someone just enjoying healthy alone time. We're going to break each one of these down. Understanding the differences between each one of these is an important part of creating an inclusive community. Loneliness is an internal feeling that happens when our social needs are not being met. Because loneliness is a feeling, being physically alone is not always necessary to experience loneliness. One can feel lonely when they are in a class, in the cafeteria, on a team, at work, or at home. For example, when I was a classroom teacher in Miami, I had a high school student transfer into my class from the Midwest. Not only had she moved into a totally different environment, she was also into different things than her peers. For example, she liked fantasy novels and classic rock, which were just not popular with her peers. She felt like she had nothing in common with the other students at the small school because she had a hard time connecting with her classmates. Even though her classmates weren't rude to her, she felt lonely because she couldn't find a connection with them. There are many different reasons someone may feel lonely. For instance, it could be because someone is not finding people who share the same interests, or it's hard for them to talk to other people, or they're being bullied, or someone is spending so much time on social media than they're actually connecting in person with other people.
Social isolation is when someone has few or infrequent social interactions with peers. For example, a student may eat lunch alone, spend time after school alone, and spend their weekends alone. A student who is socially isolated may not have involvement with school teams or clubs or groups or teams outside of school. There are several reasons someone might be socially isolated. A student may be socially isolated because their classmates see them as different and discourage them from sitting at their lunch table, hanging out after school, or on weekends. A student could be isolated because they are uncomfortable talking to their classmates, and they also might struggle with social anxiety or just have difficulty making friends. One thing we need to consider about social isolation is the connection it can have with social media. Americans spend on average 6 hours per day on digital media, and this includes social media. Teens need to be aware of social media replacing in-person engagement and interactions, monopolizing your attention and focus, reducing quality time with peers, and negatively impacting self-esteem. Social media can lead teens to experience greater loneliness, conflict, and reduced social connection. Something to consider is people who use social media more than 2 hours per day are twice as likely to report being socially isolated compared to people who spend less than 30 minutes a day on social media. How much time do you spend on social media each day? Some of you might be thinking, sometimes I want to be alone, and that is certainly okay. Being alone doesn't always mean someone is lonely or socially isolated. Sometimes we choose to be alone because it helps us relax or recharge our batteries, be more creative, more productive, and sometimes we just need to be away from people. This is healthy alone time. Healthy alone time is when you choose to spend time alone and it helps you feel better. Some examples of healthy alone time might be reading a book, streaming a movie, playing video games, listening to music, going for a walk, and watching TV.
So like we said at the beginning of the presentation, social isolation and loneliness can lead to a lot of really extreme negative impacts, and some of those things could be thoughts of hurting yourself or other people, but there are some other negative impacts that we would also like to prevent. Anxiety, illness, depression, low self-esteem, and low academic performance. So this is such a big deal, and loneliness and social isolation has really become so prevalent with people that our nation's doctor, the Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, has said that this is an epidemic. So to remind you what an epidemic is, that is a disease that infects a lot of people all at once. So really this is something that millions of people are experiencing right now, and that's people of all ages. So let's listen to a message from Dr. Murthy about loneliness and social isolation.
Loneliness is far more than just a bad feeling. Being socially disconnected, which can range from feeling alone to being isolated, is bad both for individual and societal health. Research shows that loneliness and isolation are associated with a greater risk of heart disease, dementia, stroke, depression, anxiety, and premature death. In fact, lacking connection can increase the risk of premature death to levels comparable to smoking daily. Loneliness and social isolation are also far more common than we might realize. About 1 in 2 American adults report experiencing loneliness. Everyone can be impacted across all ages, socioeconomic conditions, and geographies. This widespread disconnection presents profound threats to our health and well-being. Social connection is as fundamental to our mental and physical health as food, water, and sleep, and it affects our performance and productivity at work, school, and in our communities. Now is the time to invest in building social connection. This first ever Surgeon General's advisory on our epidemic of loneliness and isolation shows us how. The keys to connection are simple. Answer a phone call from a friend. Invite someone over to share a meal. Listen and be present during conversation. Seek out opportunities to serve others. These steps may seem small, but they're extraordinarily powerful. By strengthening our relationships, we can improve our heart and brain health, reduce our risk of diabetes and high blood pressure, boost our immune systems, and lower our risk of depression. We can build lives and communities that are healthier and happier, and we can ensure our country and the world are better poised than ever to take on the challenges that lie ahead. Visit surgeongeneral.gov/connection to learn more.
So it's super important for us to remember that this feeling of loneliness is a very human experience that a lot of people experience all the time. So being lonely does not mean that you are not likable. Recognizing when you have those feelings of loneliness helps you make those connections. It helps you recognize when you need to seek support and to also prioritize your mental health and well-being. So one of the contributing factors to loneliness is how little time that young people are spending with people face-to-face and in person. So you'll see in this chart that in the year 2003, people were spending over 200 minutes a day with people. And then now in 2020 and beyond, they're really dropping to 40 minutes a day. And that's a huge decline. So you'll see that it trended downward from 2003, and you'll see that even from the year 2011, there was a drastic decline. So what do you think the contributing factors to that could be?
Now that we know what loneliness or socially isolation are and the negative impacts of loneliness and social isolation, this brings us to step 2, reach out and help. As part of this step, let's look at some examples of loneliness and social isolation you might see. As part of this step, we're going to watch a video of some examples of social isolation and loneliness you might see at school. Remember the empathy gym. As you watch, think about where the students in the video might exercise their muscles.
Hey, have you ever seen Jack sitting with anyone at lunch?
I don't know. I never see him with anyone.
Maybe he likes being alone?
Maybe.
He's new. I wonder if he knows anyone.
Oh no! May dropped all her books.
That's so embarrassing. I did that yesterday.
I have to get to class.
I feel so bad for her. I know it can be embarrassing when this happens.
No one has liked my photo. Should I delete it?
Where's Desmond? They're usually on that bench waiting for us.
I haven't seen Desmond for a few days.
Jay, have you?
Nope.
I hope they're okay.
Reaching out and helping can be difficult. Here are some reasons why people don't reach out and help. They may lack the confidence to connect with someone. Sometimes there are unspoken social rules that tell you it may not be okay to help someone. These unspoken social rules are invisible boundaries that might make you feel unsure about reaching out to someone you don't typically socialize with. Also, our personal identity is at stake. Sometimes we worry about how it might make us look or how it might affect our social status or popularity if we reach out and help. We could have had a negative experience. For example, if you tried to help someone and they didn't want your help. Prejudice could also play a role. Prejudice means to prejudge something for someone. For example, if you have prejudged someone based on how they dress or how they look or what their friends might say. You may just be unsure how to communicate and then decide not to reach out and help.
Start with hello. As part of this step, we're going to talk about some strategies you can use to overcome some of those barriers we just talked about. Starting with hello doesn't always have to be a literal, verbal hello. It can be any act of kindness, verbal or nonverbal, that shows someone you see them. Here are some small actions you can take to be welcoming, respectful, inclusive, and friendly. So, if you yourself are feeling shy or awkward about reaching out, these are some simple ideas to get you more comfortable. Smile or wave is an easy way to initiate hello without feeling too awkward or uncomfortable. Liking a post on social media is a way to acknowledge someone else's thoughts and show them that they are seen and heard. Welcoming someone new is impactful because you are being inclusive and creating a safe space. And also acknowledging how someone likes to be addressed, whether it be by their nickname or pronouns, can also help a person feel included.
So with a small action, you can also do a big action. You can give someone a compliment. You could introduce yourself and start a conversation, ask a question to learn something new about someone, or you could help someone. You can also do giant actions. You can invite someone to join you and your friends, maybe at your lunch table. You could share something with someone as a physical item or even just something about yourself. You could ask for someone help. You could organize a diversity celebration, or you could join a club.
Remember those video examples we saw? Now we're going to use those same examples, but with their classmates using some start with hello strategies. See if you can identify which strategies they are using to show empathy.
He's new. I wonder if he knows anyone. You're Jax, right?
Yep. Hello, I'm Mateo. My pronouns are they, them. This is Olivia.
Hey, Jax.
It's nice to meet you. We're going to the high school football game this Friday. Do you want to join? Sure.
I feel so bad for her. I know it can be embarrassing when this happens.
Thank you. I can't believe I did that.
Nah, don't worry. It happens to everyone.
I was worried I'd be late to class. Now I'll for sure be late.
Oh, are you taking biology?
Yeah, and I have Miss Garrett.
I'm thinking of taking it next year. Is it hard?
It's a really tough class, but she's a great teacher, which helps.
Good to know.
Thanks for helping with my books.
No one has liked my photo. Should I delete it?
Whoa, I can't believe no one has liked this photo of Alonzo.
Whoa, someone liked my photo today.
Where's Desmond?
I hope they're okay.
I'm gonna text Desmond and see if they're okay.
If they don't respond by the end of this game, I'll walk over to their house with you.
Me too.
Before we wrap up, we want to leave you with a challenge to practice reaching out to others and creating a socially inclusive school. Your challenge is to send a note or a text to a classmate and give them a compliment. This will make them feel seen and heard today. Finally, here's a video of our friends we saw at the start of the presentation. This time, they're going to tell us how they feel when someone reaches out and helps them.
Thank you so much for being so attentive during this presentation. Remember the 3 steps. When you see someone alone, reach out and offer help by starting with a hello. Thank you again, and remember, Bulldogs, we are always better together.